Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of DevDrawer. Today I'm going to be showing you how to add a simple contact form to your website using WP Forms. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to install it, and we're going to set up how to use the free version of it, and then I'll get in paid functionality so that you can see how, what the difference is. But WP Forms is a great tool to have. I've used them in the past for some other themes. I don't know if you've ever used the Astra theme for your WordPress website, but Astra usually comes default with WP Forms. So if you've ever used Astra, which what you can see here, this is actually an Astra theme. I just kind of customize it a little bit. It's basically a motivational speaker theme. So it's a very simple theme. And it did have WP Forms on it, but I wanted to go through kind of the whole steps of how to install it, how to find it, how to set it up, and then how to eventually get it on your website, and then migrating that to the pro version of it. But before I get started, two things. One, if you like these kind of videos, definitely subscribe to the channel. I have more WordPress videos coming up in the near future. And number two, this is a sponsored post for WP Forms. Now, having said that, stay tuned towards the middle-ish end of the video. WP Forms is going to be helping us do a giveaway. So if you're interested in getting a license for the pro version of WP Forms, stay tuned and I'll give you a link that you can go to try to win it. I don't have anything bad to say about WP Forms. Like I've said, I've used them plenty of times, and it's a very useful plugin if you want to have a visual editor to show you what your form will look like, and you can do some drag and drop, and there's some functionality with it that I think is pretty superior to some of the other plugins. Like I regularly used Contact Form 7, but there's no GUI for it, so if you don't know how to do shortcodes and how to do code, it makes it a little bit more difficult, whereas WP Forms kind of steps into that and gives you or your clients a easier way to add forms and kind of understand what they're doing without having to know any kind of code. So let's go ahead and get started, and we'll dive right into it. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to log into our dashboard over here, and then we are going to go to our plugins, and only thing you have to do is just add a new one and search for WP Forms. So that's WP for WordPress Forms, and then the one that pops up will be this one right here with the a mascot. You'll be able to tell what it is because it's WP Forms with a mascot on it. So let's go ahead and install that now. And then once it's installed, we'll go ahead and activate it. And then over here, you'll see a new entry for WP Forms so that we can add this to our website. So before we go into actually setting up the form, I'm going to click over here to our contact page, and this is where that contact form is going to go. And like I said, I'm using Astra, so there's Elementor added to it. So we're going to eventually open up this edit with Elementor and add in the shortcode that we create for WP Forms. But before we get into doing that, I want to go over some of the options that you have for WP Forms. Right now, we currently don't have a form set up, so this is the menu that we'll see as soon as we activate the plugin. It's going to bring us to our Create Your First Form, or you can read the guide to see what you can do with this. If we scroll down a little bit further, you can see that this is all of the cool stuff that they have integrated into it. And then this is for the free version of it, but there is also a paid version of it, which I'll show you how to, some of the cool things that you can do with that whenever you get the paid version of it. And if you upgrade to Pro, it's $199 per year, but it is definitely worth it. So if you are ever on the fence about having the kind of functionality you see here, like online signatures, geolocation, user registration, user created forms, surveys, uploads, that kind of thing, it's definitely something I would look into doing, but we are going to be starting this off with the free version of the plugin. So let's go ahead and create our first form. So from here, we're just going to title this one Contact Form, since that is where the page is going to go. So we can either start with a blank form, setting up using a simple contact form, newsletter, or suggestion form. So since we're using it as a contact form, we can just go ahead and just click on this button, and it'll kind of load some of the preset defaults that most contact forms have. And then if we want to, we can go ahead and hit save here, and it'll give us a shortcode that we can embed or we can just directly add it to the pages here, but I like using the shortcode just because it gives me the ability to control it a little bit better. So I'm going to copy this. We're going to open up this page with Elementor, and then inside of where we have this at, we're just going to paste that shortcode, and then we're going to hit update here, and you can see now it has added that form for us. So let me go ahead and apply this, and I'm going to close out of this, and we're going to refresh that contact page again, and you can see that it's just that easy. We can add in a contact form using their default information. So if we want to go over here and we want to customize it a little bit, let's say for example I want to make this a little bit longer. So let's come over here, we click on this, and we can go to our advanced options, the field size, let's make it large, and it stretches it all the way across that screen, so that way we won't have it kind of bunched up right here. And then we can also do the same thing with this one. So if we click on this one, go to advanced options, and now we're going to hit large again, it will stretch it once again. I want to change the message, the label here. So instead of saying comment or message, let's just say, how can I help you, since this is a motivational speaker. So maybe there's someone's asking them if they want to, speak at one of their conferences, or maybe they're just needing help. So instead of having a comment or message, which is the default, we can actually change that label pretty easily. And we can also come over here and let's say we want to add additional fields. So instead of giving them the ability to come in here and type out what they want, let's give them a multiple choice. So you click it and you drag it over to where you want it, so you can kind of put it anywhere you want it. I'm going to put it beneath the email. And here we have a multiple choice. So if we click on this field, we can change this to let's say speaking engagement. And then let's say we want to do something for a convention. So we can do conventional, our convention speaking engagements. We can also do, let's see, one-to-one. And then let's do another one for, let's say, business seminars. So that'll give them 3 choices that they can select from. And we can also add in a description down here. So if we wanted to have something else, let's just kind of give them a little more information about what this field is. So let's say select how. Now let's do let's select where your speaking engagement is. And then we're also going to make this a required field, so it shows that it is required now. So if we come over here and we hit save, alright, so it saved it, and if we hit refresh, now you can see that it has the information that we just added in there. So it's pretty easy to kind of get a generic form up and going. When we hit submit right now, you can see that these fields are required, and it gives that information about how those fields are required. And we can also change how the requirement text is. There's a lot of other stuff that you can do with inside of your advanced options. So let's say if we had a list of like 20 different radio boxes here, we could actually come in here and put it into 2 columns. Obviously we wouldn't do that with just 3 of them, but if we had 20 of them, instead of having a long list, we can put it in 2-3 columns. We can also hide the label so that it's based on the description, what they need to do. We can add any kind of additional classes to it and then be able to modify that inside of our style sheet. And then we can also come over here and put dynamic choices. So if we put in post type, this is hello world is going to be the current post that it's trying to pull from, which is the only post that's installed on this website. So we're not going to do this because we want to be able to control the options that are inside of that. But you just have a lot of different options that are available to you based on just the drag and drop fields that you have. So one thing that you'll notice inside of the for the Pro is if you want to have conditional logic. So let's say if you had speaking engagements and if they selected convention, you can make it where it shows another box underneath it, and then that could be where they could select different type of convention, or maybe a date or a month or something like that. So you can show and hide fields based on this conditional logic. This is something that is whenever you have the Pro version of the plugin, is something that's added on there, which I'll show you guys later. But right now with the free version, it is not included. So if you don't need conditional logic, it might not be something that's very important to you, but there is some forms, if you have, especially if you have a large form with a lot of different options, you might want to have some of those options that are hidden and some of those options that are visible, and then that conditional logic that shows or hides the additional stuff. All right, so let's take a look at the fields that are available to us. So we have our single line of text, which would kind of be like this, but this is actually an email drop. Is it an email? No, it's not email. So this is just a single line of text. We have our paragraph text here. We currently do not have a drop down here, but we have multiple choice, and then these are kind of self-explanatory, but you can do like the name, where it breaks it up into first name, last name, and then you can go over here and say that you want to have first, middle, last. There's a bunch of different options that you have for each one of these fields, or you can just have it by itself. So let's go ahead and delete that. So the standard fields that come with it are pretty much the fields that you would use on pretty much any contact form. So setting a number, doing an email like this one. So this one isn't just a text box, it's actually an email box. And then you can also do a number slider, which this one's pretty cool. So if we bring this in, you can actually bring in a number slider here so that they can control a value. So let's say if you have a meeting appointment form, you can have it where they can select how many people are going to be in that meeting. So let's go ahead and add something like that. So let's do number of people, and then let's put in a description here for select the number of people that will be at your event. And then we can give them, let's say we want to do a maximum of 100 people per speaking engagement. So now if we save this and go back to our contact page, you can see that we have from 0 all the way to 100, and it'll be the number of people that can be put at this speaking engagement. So it's just, you have a lot of different options, and you don't have to worry about being able to code it or not. It's kind of, everything's there for you for the typical stuff. There is some other things that you need to be worried about where they do require the pro version of it. So if we come down here, you have some fancy fields, like for example, phone is locked behind the pro version. But again, it's not something that's a deal breaker. You could use a number field for that. Same thing with your address, date, time. All of these fields, they're not really typical. That's why they're included in the pro version of it. They're not something that you absolutely need for most day-to-day users. But there is some, if you wanted to have a highly customized, maybe an appointment form or something like that, you would need a date and time. If you have something where people can upload a resume, so it's an application, you might want to have an upload field, and these are the fields that would be available to you. And then you also have single item, multiple item, checkbox items, Dropbox item, or drop down items, and a total. So if you're wanting to do like if you want to be able to accept payments, you have the ability to accept payments through your contact forms and be able to provide them with the information that they need to be able to type in, and to be able to generate a dynamic total from that. So we're just going to be going over the simple options right now. And this is kind of a very simple version of a contact form that a motivational speaker may be looking at. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this because I just don't really need that in there. And now let's go over here to the settings, and we can keep going through how you finish setting it up. So in your settings, this is where you would control the information about the contact form and how it's being sent out, whether it's being copied to somebody else. So for example, we named this contact form, and this is just for informational purposes inside of the administration panel. Same thing with the description. However, you can show those if you wanted to. I usually don't, but you can show them. You can also change the submit button. So let's say you wanted to do make reservation, and then this would change the button here from submit to make registration, or make reservation. So this is pretty general information, so I don't think I need to go into too much detail about how to set up the form, but we can see the change that I was made here with the make reservation. Notifications, this is the notification that your administration gets. You can also set up a new notification. So let's say if you wanted to have a multiple people receiving an email, you could do that. It defaults to your administrative email, but you can put in whatever kind of email address that you want to here, and then you can also separate them with commas if you want the same email to be sent to the same person. So whenever you add a new notification, you can actually change up the field. So let's say if you have someone that needs to see everything, you would have in here they would see all fields, but then you could set up a second notification where you're just displaying certain fields, not everybody. So like this one, if you click on hide or show smart tags, you can click here and it actually puts in field ID 0 because that's what the first name is, or the name fields are. So we're going to leave this one at all fields. It's going to come from us. It's coming from WP Motivational Speaker, which is the name of this website, and then the email subject can also be changed. So let's say reservation made from website. So let's save that. And now we have a default notification, so whenever the contact form is submitted, it gets sent over to whoever is this administrative email or whatever the email address that you put in here with all fields, because we didn't specifically lay out an individual field that we wanted to look at. And then finally we have our confirmation. So you have multiple options. My recommendation for marketing purposes, for tracking purposes, it would be to send them to a page or redirect them to a URL, so a thank you page. If you show them a message, that's fine, but you can't really track that too well inside of your Analytics Studio or whatever else that you're using. You can set up some event tags that can track it, but it's just easier to make it where it goes to a thank you page, and that thank you page is what you actually track. So I'd recommend sending them to another page. So you click on show page, and then just whatever page you create for your thank you page is what you would select here. Or you could just make it redirect to a completely different URL. So if you have like a payment form, you can actually have it where they pay it and then it redirects them to an event page or a seminar page or a confirmation page, something like that. So we're just going to leave it at message right now because I don't have a page for it. But basically, whenever you submit the form, it will send an email or send a message here saying thanks for contacting us. We'll be in touch with you shortly. You can customize this to be whatever you want it to be. But this is basically what it says after the message is submitted. Okay, so now we've gotten through most of the free parts of the plugin. So let's go down here and you can see that you have different things that you can also do with the email once it's been submitted or setting it up. You have the ability to add in a poll to it. There's a lot of other stuff that you can do to it, but of course these all do require the pro version of the plugin. So let's head down to the marketing tab. So if you have something like we use MailChimp, if you have MailChimp, you would be able to use it with the pro version, but they have a default where you can use Constant Contact. So if you have Constant Contact, you would just add in the connection, put in your API keys, and essentially whenever someone contacts you through your website, it would automatically get added to Constant Contact. So just something to be aware of. If you have Constant Contact, it does come free with the WP Forms Lite version of the plugin. With the Pro version of the plugin, you have access to these as well. And then finally, payments, which you can't do it all in the free version of it, and you can do it in the Pro version. So you can set up these payments where you would need to set up your API information in order to connect your PayPal or Stripe or Authorize.net to this form to be able to accept the payments based on the fields that you add in your payment fields. So I think that is about it for the free version of the plugin. So now I'm going to save this and we're going to upgrade this to the Pro version of it. So the way that you would do that is you would click on Settings, and then you would grab a license key, which you can find a link to make a purchase from WP Forms in the description of our video. And if if you're curious, this is a sponsored video, so we do get a little piece of it whenever it gets sent over to them. So if you want to support the channel, that is a great way to do it. If not, then you can always just go to WP Forums website and make a purchase directly from them. But for right now, I'm going to go ahead and grab our license key and paste it in here. It'll be blocked out so you won't be able to see it, but you'll be able to see all the other options that need to be opened. Before I show you the pro version of the plugin, go to the devdrawer.com/WP-Forms for your chance to enter to win a professional license to WP Forms. Everything that you see in the next few minutes of this video is something that you can win. We have 3 licenses that WP Forms is helping us give away, so go and enter yourself in for a chance to win. We'll do a random drawing. I'll push out a video announcing the winners, and then I'll also update the page so that you can see if you've won or not. So again, if you want a chance to win a copy of the professional license for WP Forms, go to the devdrawer.com/WP-Forms. So I input the license key. As you can see here, it is now saying your license key level is Pro. So this means that we do have access to the Pro version of the plugin now. So thank you, WP Forms, for that. So let's go into our form that we created previously, and we're going to edit it. And then from here, you can see that all these fancy fields have started to open up. Now, if we click on this, the signature add-on is not installed. Would you like to install it and activate it? So we have the ability to do this, but we don't have it on there right now. So let's say if we were doing a simple contract, we would want to install and activate this. But I don't want to do that right now. What I want to do is add in a date and time, and then we're going to select where they can set up a date and a time. So let's click on this, and we're going to do format. Let's do date time of engagement. Then we're going to make it large so it stretches all the way across, and then we can do a date picker. We can also change the format of it, limit it to specific days, specific times. Right now I'm just going to leave it wide open, so whenever they go to click on this or this, it'll give them a time picker and then a date picker, or we can just do a date drop down here. So I like the way that it looks more with the date picker. And then let's hit save on this and refresh so I can show you what that looks like. So if they click on this, now we have a date picker, and you click on this, you can select the time. So this will kind of give, if you were a motivational speaker and you were using a plugin like this for your business, you can give them where they can pick specific date and times, and then you can limit those dates and those times that you're available. So right now I'm not going to limit those, but you can see how that works. Let's also make that a required field. So we're going to come back over here, check required, and now we have this date field added to it. So let's kind of go over some of the other fields. So we've already done date time. This just formats your fields differently, so it accepts different kinds of parameters and you can validate them a lot better. So let's see, let's say we want to add a section divider. We want to put it right here, and then this will basically just put like a new section for us. So we can come in here and we can change this, and let's say engagement information. And then this will give us a section that's dedicated specifically to what kind of engagement we're looking for. Engagement. Okay, so now if we save that and we go back over here, we can see that we have it's in a header tag and it kind of splits it up for us. So I'm not going to go over every one of the fields that are on here because not all of them are required, but let's go into the payments a little bit. So this is pretty cool. So let's say if we wanted to have a deposit done for anybody that wants to discuss something with this motivational speaker, we can drag this single item over here right above make reservation. We're going to click on this and we're going to say let's make this initial deposit, and then the price is going to be, let's say it's $100 to make a reservation with this person, and it's going to be required. So now if we hit save and we refresh it, we don't have any payment methods assigned to it yet, but you can see here that we have an initial deposit that they can't modify that the price is $100. So if we had the payment functionality on here, when we go to click make reservation, it would actually show us the information that we needed to input to pay for this $100. And then we can also go down to make it user defined. So let's say if you wanted them to, if it was a donation form, you can set it up so they can put in their own donation information here, or you can come in here and you can make it hidden, where it's it's $100, it's done in the back, they don't need to know about it, but they will get redirected to that payment module after it is done. So I'm just going to make it visible, we're going to save it again, and then we're going to go back to our fields. And let's say if we had multiple items, so if we had, instead of doing a deposit, let's say if we wanted to do a deposit and then make a purchase of a book or an ebook or something like that, we can add in multiple items and then put up a total so that they can check what they want and then add that total and then go to make the reservation, and then it'll pull the payments from over here. So I'm not going to set up any payment methods just because this is a demo site, but if you've ever done any kind of payment authorization with Stripe, PayPal, or Authorize.net, you'll know how to do this. But to get it to work, you would just go to the add-ons page, add in the add-on that you wanted. So if we wanted to do, let's see, Stripe, we would just click install add-on, and then it would ask you to authorize this payment method whenever you're setting up your form. So let's go here, go to our payments, and we click on this, and then we can set up our WP, our Stripe account inside of the settings and connect it with Stripe using their API, sign into it, all that kind of stuff. But I'm not going to do that for right now. But you could do that. If you wanted to be able to accept that $100 payment, you would be able to connect it with whatever payment processor that you're using. So let's go back over to our settings, integrations. Now we have the ability to add MailChimp. So if we wanted to be able to connect to our MailChimp newsletter, we would be able to do that now, because I don't normally use Constant Contact. Some of my clients do, so I've had to do it that way previously, but for me personally, I like MailChimp, so we've used MailChimp before. And then we would just connect our account the same way we do with the Stripe information as well. So let's go back over here to our forms. We're going to hit edit here, and I think that's all we need to do here. So let's go see marketing. We got MailChimp set up, and we would just set up the connection to that. We have our payments, which we would again set up the connection to that. So now inside of our settings, we have all of these that are open now. So a conversational form, basically instead of having everything displayed in one place, you would have, this section would be section 1, this section would be section 2, this one would be section 3, so forth and so on. So I'm not going to set it up, but you can see that with the pro version of the plugin, you do have the ability to turn these on, which they're pretty cool. So let me install the surveys and polls so you can see how that one looks. But it's pretty cool that whenever you get done doing a contact form, you can get them to fill out a survey or fill out a poll, stuff like that. So there's a lot of really cool stuff that you can do once you have the pro version of this plugin. Again, it's not required that you get the pro version. The free version of it does a lot of the general contact, but as you can see from here, whenever you go to add some additional fields, if any of this stuff is important to you, then it is definitely something you need to look into. You can make your form be pretty intuitive and pretty interactive by adding the additional fields that you wouldn't normally get with the free version of WP Forms. But I think that's about it. Again, thank you WP Forms for sponsoring this video. It is a tool that I have used for a long time. I did Contact Form 7 for a while, and honestly, it's great. But you get to a point where whenever you start using something like Elementor and you give your clients the ability to modify their website a little bit more in depth, they don't necessarily want to do or know how to do short codes like what Contact Form 7 requires. Whereas this, they can come in here and drag and drop whatever they want, and they can create their own contact forms pretty easily and on the fly, and everything it's presented the exact same way it needs to be. Only thing they need to do is just add a short code. So again, thanks WP Forms for sponsoring this video. It was fun to demo your software for my subscribers, and if y'all have any questions, please comment below. Let me know what you think about WP Forms. If you've had any other form integrations that you've used on WordPress that you would like to do a shout out for, leave that in the comments as well, and we can take a look at it. But I think for now, I think that's going to be it for this. And if you could show some love for WP Forms and like this video, give it a thumbs up, and let them know that people do appreciate what they've done. So I guess that's it, and I'll talk to you later.